talked about all week about starting fast and coming out and playing well early. I thought our kids did that. I thought the kickoff return to Butler kind of set the tone for the game. I thought for the most part we played well. The one good thing I liked about the game is we got to play a lot of kids. A lot of young players that went in there and got their feet wet. And see Josh Brown and Gary Thompson, Arnold Blackman, and Tureen and all those guys, Andre Scott Leggett, to get a chance to go in there and make some plays on defense to help us down the road.
Do you like the fact that they picked up where they left off? There was no emotional lag, anything. It was exactly how you all left the second half against Miami.
Well, we know we've talked all week about there's one of the 8 teams. There's about 8 teams out there that came in and got upset, and we want to make sure that didn't happen to us. And our preparation all week was great. I thought Tuesday and Wednesdays when the game was won during the week as far as practice goes, and we practiced extremely well, and I think it showed there early. And again, it was great to get those young kids and Fro and all those guys into play because they sure deserved to.
And speaking of playing a lot of guys, how happy are you that first through whatever string was on defense was able to keep that shutout alive?
Yeah, I put them in a bad situation one time, and that shouldn't have. And they responded. They went out there and they got them stopped, and it was great to see them. Number one, get the shutout. That was important to Chuck and the entire defense, and they got that. And that was great to see. I think it's just more positive things defensively we could build on. And like I said, I thought our kids tackled again for the most part pretty well. They had a couple backs that could play, and they had a couple wideouts I thought were good players going in, and they were. So I thought we tackled pretty well, and for the most part got lined up pretty well.
And I think looking at sacks and turnovers, you were wanting to get some more from last game, and you definitely amped up this game.
Well, there's no doubt. Anytime you're +5 in the turnover mark, I think they had 6, we had 1. And anytime you can create 6 turnovers on defense and score for that matter, you got a great shot at winning the game pretty decisively. And that's kind of happened today.
What's the difference in mentality for a player for that? It seemed like last year you all got your hands on a lot of balls that could have been interceptions and forced some fumbles but didn't get the recovery. What's the difference from a year ago to this year being able to complete those plays?
Well, I think about 14 new faces out there making those plays. I mean, if you look at the guys that created the turnovers, a lot of them were out there playing here for the most part. I know Leggett wasn't, Andre Scott wasn't. I don't know exactly who got there. Packard interception was there, but I think there's a lot of new faces that are out there, and then Chuck Heater and Adam and Adam Fuller and Sean and JC have done a tremendous job of coaching those guys up and playing with great fundamentals and great technique. And one thing I know is when you play extremely hard, good things happen for you. Those guys go off hard out there, and that's good to see.
Stu had 151 yards and 3 touchdowns on 9 carries. What is it about him that has allowed him or has got him playing so hard in these first 2 games?
Well, number one, he's a good player, and number two, he's practiced extremely hard, extremely well. He plays like that on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then he goes out and just, we try to practice so hard on Tuesday and Wednesday throughout the week that when we get out there on Saturdays, the games are easy. I mean, that's our philosophy as far as practice goes. And Stu, for the last 2 weeks, has practiced extremely well. He's living right. He's making good decisions, and it's great to see him get rewarded for that.
Is there a difference from last year to this? I mean, he had those flashes of real brilliance, but they came here and there. I mean, this time it's been very consistent and just very explosive.
Well, I mean, I think last year, being a freshman to this year, number one, he's a lot physically, he's a lot stronger. And if you look at him, the year ago he didn't have arms and he had little skinny legs. I mean, he's filled out, he's stronger, he's more physical, and he's a better player because of what's happening in the weight room too.
Was there emphasis on the run coming in, or just once you got in the game, you saw it was working?
Well, we felt that they were a 3 down. We didn't feel they were a 3 down front going in, and you got to be able to run the football. And we did a lot of drop 8 at times, and we were able to run it pretty well. And you have to be able to do that against a team that's going to play like that. And we were able to do that.
The big the nose guard that you talked about all week, and everybody else did as well. It seemed like Jasper sort of took that on his shoulder. It sort of had a chip on his shoulder coming out and set the tone early.
Well, we challenged him, and the kid made some plays. He made a couple plays, but Jasper in that offensive line, anytime you run the ball the way they did, they did a good job. We had a couple times we missed a couple of blitzes that created a couple issues for us, but I thought for the most part they picked it up, they protected well, and they also were able to run the ball because they got half on the right feet.
You guys were known as such a passing team last year, and now you were able to really establish the run as effectively as you have in the first 2 games. How happy are you that you were able to do that and kind of show folks that, yeah, we are still an explosive offense, but we have balance now too?
Well, I've said from day one, I mean, we may not have the stats we had a year ago, but we're a better offense. I mean, we had some, we we had a lot of stats last year, but I think right now we're a more balanced offense and we're a better offense than we were a year ago because we can run the ball when we want to and we still have the ability to throw it extremely well. So, being a more balanced offense and being able to do both. Now, we're still going to take what the defense gives us, and we did at times out there today, but we also forced some runs in there when we probably at times should have been throwing, and we were pretty successful in getting that done.
Doc, you said before camp started that you needed sometimes to just slow things down, and tonight was a game, I guess, where you could try to do that some, right?
We did, and we slowed it down a little bit, because number one of what they were doing. I mean, we had to identify the blitzes, we had to identify where they were coming from, and a lot of that slowdown was because of different checks and that kind of thing we were having to make to get us in the right play or get us in the right protection because they were coming from so many different places. But and we speeded it up at times. But having the ability to change tempos, Jack, there's no question it's going to help us down the road.
Defensively, these guys sort of get lost in the shuffle a lot of times, but it seemed like your defensive tackles were just owning the line of scrimmage and enabling those ends to get in once the quarterback was scrimmaging.
Well, I think what happens is a lot of times you can get good pressure off the edge, but there's no push. It allows that quarterback to step up and deliver the ball, and when you can get push up the middle, still get pressure off the ends, that's when your sacks come in and get hacks in the quarterback. But you're right. I mean, we didn't play Rouse the second half because we didn't want to. But those other things, I thought Gary went in there, or Josh Brown went in there, and of course those other guys were Dylan and Darquez and all those guys were solid guys, and we were kind of push the hard.
Speaking to D-line, I know it's really early, but are you hopeful on Sparrow on the ankle?
You don't know. I mean, he's got an ankle. We'll see. His ankles are tough. They're tough, so we'll see how it goes. But like I said, Josh went there, played well, and that's what happens. He goes down, and somebody else got to step up. And I think Josh and Gary are the defensive tackles.
Well,
nice to see those two young guys going to play.
That sort of magnifies the game a little bit like this too, because he goes down with an injury. Those guys get meaningful reps going into an important game next week.
Well, there's no doubt that they getting those reps today is going to help those guys, and they needed it. I mean, they needed to play a lot, and thank goodness we're able to do that.
It's the first 2-0 start since 1999. I know there's so much left to play, but how much does that boost the locker room to know that they're building momentum and able to string things together?
There's a hell of a lot there in 1-1.
Man.
Well, it's all good. We talked about going. Are we expected to go out and win every week? And 2-0 is where we wanted to be, and now that's over, and we'll enjoy this for a little bit and move on to next week. So it's all good.
What goes through your mind as far as to say, okay, how long do I want to play Cato or?
Yeah, we just you kind of get a bit of it, and we wanted to play Fro, and we played him just about. Our thought was to come back out in the second half and to take it down and score, and when we did early, I think it was just a couple of plays we scored, and get him one more series and get him out, and that's what we did. So we got him out. I think we got him out with about 8 or 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, and got Fro in there. I like to see Fro play a little more, but unfortunately, a couple of bad snaps, and I thought that Fro did just really good.
Yeah, put Fro in and let him work with I guess it was mostly the number one line.
Well, yeah, we didn't wholesale sub. We put Fro in. We wanted to get him to some meaningful reps. There's some people that could protect him, and that was our thought. That's what we did.
Yeah, were you looking to get some reps for kickoff coverage with Curry? Not
what we
first
did.
half.
Yeah, what we did there was, he thinks he needs to kick it out of the stadium instead of out of the end zone times, and that's what happened to him early. Just trying to kick it to me a little harder. But he settled down and kicked it well. But the whole, I think after about this 5th or 6th one, there was a whole second group in there run down kickoffs. And it was good to get those young guys in there to run down on.
A couple more true freshmen came in for the first time. Are you any more red shirts going to go?
I don't think. I think we played Michael Johnson. We played Taquan Lang. We've all played in the center. We played the center in Selby, and then of course Josh Knight and Justin Hunt. There's 5 of them I think played. That probably the extent of it. But all 5 of those played a lot, and we'll continue to.